For millions of people across generations, Cliff Richard was never just a singer, he was part of the soundtrack of their lives. His voice moved through radios, living rooms, summer holidays, and family celebrations, quietly weaving itself into memory. When Cliff says that music has a very big meaning for him, it isn't just a line from an interview, it's a truth earned over decades, shaped by joy, reflection, and the steady pursuit of a life lived in harmony with purpose. At 84, Cliff Richard speaks with the calm clarity that only a lifetime can provide, and his story is less about charts, records, or awards, and more about a life devoted to music, family, faith, and integrity. Early days in British India. Cliff Richard was born Harry Roger Webb on October 14, 1940, in Lucknow, in what was then British India. He was the youngest of 4 children, raised in a close-knit family that valued support, discipline, and the quiet rhythms of everyday life. His father worked for the Indian Railways, and his mother nurtured the household with care and patience. These early years were shaped by a sense of stability, community, and simple routines, the kind that leave lasting impressions on a young mind. Yet history was not still. India was moving toward independence, and the uncertainty and social change of the time made life increasingly unpredictable. A family uprooted. In 1948, the Webb family made the difficult decision to leave India and start anew in England. They boarded a ship with hope in their hearts but nerves in their stomachs, stepping into a world that was colder, less familiar, and more demanding than anything they had known. Homes were small, resources were limited, and life required constant adaptation. Cliff attended multiple schools as the family searched for stability, eventually settling in Cheshunt. It was here in a modest council house that Harry Webb began to discover resilience, to learn how to adapt, and to navigate the challenges of a new country with both determination and humility. Discovering music. As a teenager in post-war Britain, music became Harry's refuge. Skiffle and early rock and roll records played everywhere, offering escape, joy, and inspiration. When his father gave him a guitar at 16, it was a small gesture that opened a door to something far greater. Harry joined local groups, experimented with harmonies, and found a growing sense of purpose and identity in performance. Music was more than a hobby. It was a guide, a teacher, and a companion. In those early days, he realized that singing and playing could connect him to people, to stories, and to emotions beyond what words alone could express. Becoming Cliff Richard. When he began performing with a local rock and roll group, Harry was encouraged to adopt a stage name. Cliff conveyed strength and presence, while Richard was a nod to Little Richard, one of his early heroes. The name wasn't just for show, it allowed him to step into a persona that gave him confidence and courage. On stage, Cliff Richard could be bold, expressive, and unafraid, leaving behind some of the shyness of his youth. His early performances were full of energy and sincerity, and in 1958, when he stepped onto a major stage for the first time, he felt a sense of alignment, of belonging to the world he was about to shape with his voice. The song that defined a generation. Cliff Richard's breakthrough came with Move It, a song that captured a new energy in British pop music. Originally intended as a B-side, it exploded with vitality, excitement, and a freshness that audiences immediately embraced. Suddenly, Cliff was not just a performer, but part of a cultural movement, helping to define British rock and roll in a way that had never been done before. The song's energy, combined with Cliff's sincerity and passion, made it a defining moment, not just for him, but for a generation eager for music that reflected their own emotions and dreams. More than music, Cliff Richard's talents extended beyond singing. He explored film, television, and live performances, all while staying true to the principles that guided him from the beginning: sincerity, humility, and dedication. Over time, his music evolved, reflecting his growth, maturity, and personal beliefs. Faith became a more prominent influence, shaping songs that carried warmth, optimism, and encouragement rather than rebellion or bravado. In a world that often prizes youth and novelty, Cliff endured by being authentic, honest, and committed to his craft and his audience. Milestones and achievements. The numbers of Cliff's career are staggering. Over 250 million records sold worldwide, more than 130 charting releases in the UK, and top 10 hits spanning 6 decades. Honors such as knighthood and international recognition followed, but for Cliff, they were acknowledgments of effort and impact, not definitions of worth. While his fame in America was more modest, his global following remained loyal, particularly in Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. These achievements are remarkable not just for their scale, but because they were earned with consistency, integrity, and a deep respect for music as a calling rather than a mere business. Personal loss and reflection. Cliff's personal life, like his professional journey, has been marked by love, devotion, and reflection. He lost his father at 20, a pivotal moment that shaped his understanding of guidance, support, and responsibility. Decades later, he experienced the gradual loss of his mother to Alzheimer's disease, a challenge that tested patience, care, and resilience. He also endured the loss of his younger sister Donna in 2016. These experiences reinforced a truth that would guide him for the rest of his life. Family, presence, and love are far more enduring than fame, accolades, or public recognition. Love and choices. Cliff Richard made conscious decisions about balancing career and personal life. Choosing to prioritize his music meant that marriage was not always a feasible path. Romantic relationships came and went, each leaving lessons in empathy, communication, and self-awareness. Cliff has never framed these choices as regrets, but as necessary trade-offs, understanding that a life devoted to purpose requires courage, patience, and compromise. Navigating public life. Living in the public eye brings scrutiny, expectations, and assumptions. Cliff faced this with grace, choosing not to respond to gossip or speculation with bitterness. Instead, he focused on honesty, reflection, and integrity, trusting that authenticity matters more than approval. He carved out a life in which music, friendship, and faith were constants, allowing him to remain grounded even as the world observed every move. Faith and perspective. Faith has been a lifelong companion for Cliff, providing grounding, reflection, and guidance. It evolved over time from formal structures to a more personal, compassionate understanding of life. He emphasizes kindness, sincerity, and empathy as central principles rather than strict adherence to labels or dogma. This perspective brought peace in later years, allowing him to embrace the highs and lows of life with openness and calm. Aging with grace. At 84, Cliff Richard reflects on aging with honesty. He acknowledges the limits of the body and voice, accepting that recovery takes longer and energy is finite. Yet he continues to sing, perform, and connect with audiences, embracing the beauty of experience rather than striving for the impossible perfection of youth. His approach to aging is rooted in respect for his craft, his body, and the people who share his journey. Mortality and presence. Cliff speaks about mortality not with fear, but with presence. He focuses on the moments he can shape, the joy he can give and receive, and the love he can nurture. He understands that life is measured in connection and action, not in anxiety or regret. This clarity informs his continued performances, relationships, and choices, offering a model of mindful, deliberate living. Friendship and chosen family. Though Cliff never married, he has never been alone. Friends, collaborators, and colleagues form a network of support and loyalty that has lasted decades. For him, home is defined by the people around him, the bonds of shared trust, and the joy of connection, rather than a single structure or conventional arrangement. These relationships anchor him, offering continuity in a life of constant change. A legacy beyond music. Cliff Richard's legacy is measured not only in sales and accolades, but in resilience, integrity, and authenticity. He endured cultural shifts, personal loss, and public scrutiny with dignity, and he continues to live and perform on his own terms. His story is one of consistency, care, and dedication, a reminder that true success is built on perseverance, humility, and the courage to remain authentic. Living today. Today, Cliff Richard lives with awareness, gratitude, and calm. He continues to tour, supported by a trusted ensemble of musicians, creating performances that are intimate, reflective, and deeply sincere. He prioritizes health, peace, and meaningful connections over spectacle, understanding that life's value comes not from headlines, but from quiet presence and thoughtful choices. His journey reminds us that a meaningful life is measured not by perfection, but by perseverance, authenticity, and the joy of sharing one's gifts with the world.